Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat, and the purpose of today's video is of course to do an update. Things have of course changed and progressed over the past 24 hours from when I did my previous video. We only knew limited information and some eyewitness speculation, I suppose, from yesterday, but things have become a lot more clear and we have had some confirmations. The police have been speaking and making official statements, so have Buckingham Palace, and things have moved forward. So I want to update. I want to go through the whole thing and update as to what we know to be true and accurate and correct. Of course, there are some corrections from yesterday's video to make, so I want this to kind of be a definitive what we know to date to be true and accurate type video. So I'm going to go to the chat room because of course I want to know all about what you guys are saying, and then I'm going to go through all the information that we know and then we can talk about it. So let me just go into the chat room first and of course put it on live chat. By the way, I do have a link in the description. Please open it up in a new window, and it does have all of the photographs and yes, we'll get to that in a moment because more photographs of course have emerged from yesterday. And hello to everyone who's in the chat room. I can see you all. Yes, the photographs that I'm going to be kind of talking about. It just amazes me how anybody could walk away from that scene. The photographs of the accident, it looks absolutely horrendous and terrifying. We'll go through the list of injuries in a moment. I just think everybody is just so lucky that was involved in that crash, that it wasn't more serious. I mean, there could have been if things had been slightly different, there could have been fatalities. We could have been talking about fatalities. The injuries that the people did sustain, you know, compared to what they could have been, are relatively minor. I think everybody was just so lucky to have come out of that relatively unscathed, I shall say. So let's go through it right away. The Duke of Edinburgh's road traffic accident is kind of what we're talking about today, and I want to go through the updates. So, on doctor's advice, the Duke of Edinburgh visited the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in King's Lynn this morning for a precautionary checkup. This is an official release from Buckingham Palace. It has also been confirmed that His Royal Highness has no injuries of concern and has returned to Sandringham. So the bit that's interesting is yesterday we had an official release saying that the Duke was uninjured. Now, what we kind of have is that he had no injuries of concern. So they've added the of concern. And that is because the first responder to the scene, and I do believe his name is Ray Warne, did make a comment to the news in an interview. I'm sure you saw that he was visibly shaken and disturbed by what he was retelling. He did say that when he looked, he had some blood on his hands. That was after he had been removing the Duke from the car. So we now have a revised statement saying no injuries of concern. So the Duke must have sustained some kind of cut, although Ray Warne did say that it wasn't a lot. So relatively minor, I would probably agree with. The Norfolk Police also confirmed some information, which I'm going to read their statement. I have the full statement on my laptop, so I'm going to read. This is what the Norfolk Police actually said. So they said, investigations will continue today into a collision which happened at Sandringham yesterday, Thursday the 17th of January 2019 afternoon. Of course, we do believe it was before 3 p.m. Officers were called to the A149 shortly before 3 p.m. after two cars, a Land Rover and a Kia, were involved in a collision at the junction of the B1439. The driver of the Kia was a 28-year-old woman who suffered cuts to her knee, while the passenger, a 45-year-old woman, sustained a broken wrist. Both casualties were treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in King's Lynn and were discharged last night. Police can also confirm a 9-month-old baby boy was in the Kia at the time of the incident and was uninjured. The male driver of the Land Rover was also uninjured, although we now know no injuries of concern. Both drivers were breath tested and provided negative readings. As is standard procedure with injury collisions, the incident will be investigated and any appropriate action taken. We are aware of the public interest in the case. However, as with any other investigation, it would be inappropriate to speculate on the causes of the collision until an investigation is carried out. Now, that is, of course, the official statement released today from the Norfolk Police. So we do know that an investigation is indeed going on. Buckingham Palace has also said that they have contacted the 2 other women, of course, involved in the incident, and the Prince has sent his personal and private well wishes to them. So there has been an exchange between the 2 other people involved in the incident, the ladies in the Kia, and Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. I'm going to go through a little bit again about what Ray Warne had said. He was the gentleman who was kind of the first on the scene. He was the one who pulled Philip out of the car. He did describe in a TV clip where, as I said before, he was visibly disturbed by what he was retelling. He did say that when he went over... Well, actually, he said, first of all, he went over to the Kia, which was smoking. There was lots of smoke coming out of the Kia, and he was terribly concerned that the Kia might actually explode. Of course, it didn't. It was just smoke, but he did manage to free the baby. They freed the baby first. Then I believe he passed the baby to someone else, and he turned his attention, once the 2 ladies were out as well, to the Range Rover, which of course he didn't know at the time contained Prince Philip. So he got there and he looked through what he said. He couldn't remember whether it was necessarily the windscreen or the sunroof. I'm inclined to believe from the photographs that it was probably the sunroof that he pulled him out of. He said to the gentleman, who he recognised as an elderly gentleman at the time, to move his leg, because he could see that one leg looked slightly crushed. We now know that it wasn't crushed as in injured, it was probably underneath something. So Philip managed to move his leg, which then freed his other leg. Then that enabled Mr. Warne to grab him under his arms and pull him out. And as I said, I believe it was probably from the sunroof that he was pulled out. He said that Philip was, obviously shaken. He can't remember what Philip's first words were on the scene, but he said they weren't anything rude. So Philip, of course, was visibly shaken by what had happened. He said there was a small amount of blood on his hands, which must have been Philip's. And he said that one of the royal people who had arrived on the scene by then handed him a wet wipe, obviously to wipe his hands. And I do believe that Philip didn't speak or wasn't in any way able to speak to Ray Warne to thank him, but I'm sure he has done now. I'm sure Mr. Warne has been contacted by Philip too. I can't imagine that he wouldn't have said anything at all. There is also a possibility of no close protection officer travelling with Philip. That is another development from yesterday. We do kind of have 2 conflicting views on this. Eyewitnesses at the time said there was a second person in Prince Philip's Range Rover, but now we're kind of led to believe that there wasn't a personal or close protection officer with Philip and that he was alone. Now, this is likely to be potentially a breach of protocol if there was no close protection officer. We haven't had confirmation on this yet, so this part is speculation. If there was no close protection officer, I imagine there would probably be an investigation into why there wasn't one there as well. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. The council, Norfolk Council, has also admitted that they were looking before this incident at traffic calming measures on that stretch of road because, and I have some facts, in the last 6 years there have been 50 accidents on that stretch of road, and 5 of them have been fatalities. I was shocked, absolutely shocked when I heard that. And to know that nothing had been done until today. They've made, it took for this, with all the media attention, for them to make changes today. So the kind of temporary change that's been put in place, I do believe, is that the speed limit on the road has been reduced to 60 miles per hour, with a view in the future to it being reduced further to 50 miles per hour. And they have also installed traffic calming cameras. I believe they are average speed check cameras along that stretch of road. So they have taken immediate action today to make that road safer than it was, and they are looking to improve those safety measures even further. But it just goes to show that it shouldn't have taken something like this to have made those changes, especially if you've had 5 fatal accidents in the last 6 years. It shouldn't have come to that. As I said, the police are investigating the crash, so it is, of course, a police investigation, which leads me again to believe I don't think that we should be speculating on age as being one of those causes of the actual accident, because the police are going to be investigating all of the different factors that could have been involved. Yesterday, I did say that there could have been a number of factors involved, including weather. I said it was very icy yesterday. Ray Warren did say that he did hear Philip talking to the police about dazzling sunlight. And I can confirm, I was out yesterday driving myself. I'm nowhere near Sandringham. But it was a similar time of day that I was out driving. I was out driving and taking my nan shopping. And I can confirm the sun was low and it was dazzling. It was very, very low, very dazzling. I pulled up at a particular junction. I couldn't see. Honestly, I couldn't see. I had to pop my sunglasses on and put the visor down. And only then, when I kind of waited for a long time and I looked, and I thought, I can't see anything coming, I went. Luckily, nothing was coming the other way, and all was fine. But I can confirm that the weather conditions in terms of sunlight match with what Prince Philip is saying. It was dazzling. I can perfectly believe and understand that he was dazzled by the sunlight. It looks like, also from the pictures and from various maps that we've seen, kind of, pointing at the different roads, it looks like Philip was at the junction of a private driveway leading from a wood farm. Now, wood farm is where he has been spending most of his retirement. He hasn't been spending most of his retirement at Sandringham House, the main house. In the week when the Queen is still at Buckingham Palace doing work, he resides mainly at Wood Farm. Now, if you don't know, Sandringham is a collection of farms with public roads going through them, crisscrossing through, and Wood Farm is a part of the estate, a part of the Sandringham estate. It looks like Philip may have been coming from Wood Farm. He pulled up at the junction. It looks like he was dazzled by the sunlight, and then he pulled out. He took the decision that he couldn't see anything coming, and he pulled out. Now, this is where, the accident part comes in, and I do stress accident. Nobody would pull out of a junction, a busy junction, on purpose. It would have been an accident if he'd have made that judgment call that he couldn't see anything, just like I did, and I'm not 97. My point is, that decision could have happened to anybody of any age. And like I say, he took the decision to go. Unfortunately, it was the wrong decision, and the Kia was smacked into the Range Rover. The Range Rover flipped and skidded on the road. and then it flipped again, where it came to rest on the embankment. So we think that it overturned at least twice. Like I say, how they escaped uninjured, I have no idea. Oh, we have a super chat donation, 1.99 from L2L Leadership. Thank you so much. So how they escaped, well, how Philip escaped, with no injuries of concern, is beyond me. It really is. But I can see from those driving conditions how it could have happened. It's just an incredibly unfortunate turn of events. Now, I know some people of you are going to be speculating about what might happen to Philip, and I do have a little bit of information. And like I say, I don't think we should be necessarily blaming age as a factor in this. I think with the situation of the weather, the weather conditions, the dazzling sunlight, that could have happened to anybody. It really could. It was a judgment call, I think, that just turned out to be the wrong judgment call. Now, we do have what I'm reading from, a legal expert who's otherwise known as Mr. Loophole, who says that the Duke of Edinburgh collided with another car after pulling out into a main road, according to witnesses. If that was the case, he could be prosecuted for driving without due care and attention, which carries an unlimited fine, according to Nick Freeman, the lawyer dubbed Mr. Loophole. But he says that Philip could have a good defence if he blamed being blinded by the sun. Well, I wouldn't say blamed, I would say the truth, if that is the truth. As one witness reported, and could also avoid prosecution by surrendering his licence, Mr. Freeman added. So there we go. A possibility of, surrendering your licence could possibly eliminate any action being taken. I think it's also important to note that another development was that a Range Rover, a replacement Range Rover, has been seen to be delivered to Sandringham. So it looks like the Duke doesn't have any intention of giving up driving. I don't believe that it was a brand new Range Rover, like from the shop, from the dealer. I believe it was probably a car that was already in possession of the royal family as part of the royal fleet. Literally a replacement car. Now, let's not forget that the Sandringham estate does have private roads. It could be the Duke's intention to possibly continue driving on the private estates. We still could see a movement, maybe, of surrendering driving on public roads. We don't know at this point what the Duke's intention is. Just because he's had a replacement vehicle with his plates on, seen to be delivered, it still doesn't mean that he's going to continue driving on public roads. It could just be that he may choose to drive privately on the estates. Again, we do not know what is going on behind the scenes. We don't know what conversations are being had. We don't know what direction the investigation is going in. As soon as I know anything, I will, of course, let you know. But like I say, I don't think we should necessarily be blaming age as a factor. I think weather conditions and judgment call. Okay, and I think that's basically all I've got in terms of my notes. So I'm going to go to you guys in the chat room. So let me scroll all the way up, and then I'll kind of work my way down the comments. So hello to everyone who has been saying hello. Oh, by the way, I have had a bit of snow today as well. Magna says Princess Anne gave a nonchalant answer on the BBC today. She's at her appointment, so no comment on her father. Yes, she made kind of a bit of a weird comment going into the engagement, where she kind of made the remark similar to, well, I'm here the same as you. She did kind of flip off that kind of comment. Then on the way out, she was asked again how her father was, and she kind of said, well, I've had no updates since I've been in here. So very much she's rebuffing any questions. I would imagine that the family would be at least slightly worried or concerned about it. And it's hard to tell, like I said in yesterday's video, how to handle, a relative who is fiercely independent. The Duke is fiercely independent, and, nobody wants to tell him to be giving up anything that he enjoys. In particular, if it was an actual accident that could have happened to anybody of any age. So telling someone to give up something they love because of age, when it may not have actually even been an age-related issue, is not something I think anybody wants to be telling the Duke. Least of all anyone probably from his family. So I think what we need to do is just let this run its course. Let the police do their investigation, and they will determine whether or not age was a factor in it, whether reaction times were a factor, or, like I've said before, whether it was just an incident that happened, an actual accident that happens to anybody of any age. Patricia says, hello from Texas. Thank you for your very impartial and common sense reviews. Thoroughly enjoyed them. You are more than welcome. And yes, I do believe it's being talked about all over the world. Do excuse me. Didi says, God was with all parties involved, not just the Duke. I don't know whose fault it was, but hope Prince Philip stops driving. Again, we don't know the exact cause. We'll have to let the investigation take its course. Tim says, still 60 miles per hour is way too fast for that road. I would agree, and I hope that they take the steps and get it down to 50 as soon as possible. Maybe even with traffic calming measures as well being put in the road. Okay, I'm just kind of skipping through some questions that I've already spoken about. Tim says, I wonder what the Queen said to him when he got home. Did she scold him? Oh, I saw a horrible piece. I'm not even going to mention the person that said it, but it was reported that a certain person who actually reports on the royal family, a well-known royal reporter who writes for a magazine, I do believe, commented, and actually writes books too, commented that she thought that the Queen would have been annoyed at the Duke. I think that is a complete load of nonsense. If your husband has been involved in that level of an incident, are you going to be mad at him? Are you going to scold him? No, you are going to comfort him. You are going to make sure that everything's okay. Does that sound like the mark of what someone would do? Would you do it? So I don't believe that at all. I think that is a complete load of fake news. I don't think the Queen would have been happy that it's blown up in the press and the media. I think she may be annoyed at that, but I don't think she would have been mad at him. She would have known as well as anyone else that it was an accident, and it was an accident. We don't even know how fast the Kia was travelling. Yes, it was the Range Rover that pulled out in front of the Kia, but we also don't know how fast the Kia was going, even with a baby on board. The investigation could find that it was the Kia that was also going way too fast. We really don't know until the investigation has taken its course. Artist Victoria says, you look great. I can tell that you're concerned. Here's a cuppa. I think everyone is concerned. MSNB 2012 says, glad to hear the Duke is doing fine. He is. Moji says, I've been in a rollover crash just like I knew it last night. The Duke is in the hospital today because the shock has worn off and the actual pain has started. He will be on pain meds for weeks. Yes, the Duke also was taken to the hospital this morning. So he spent overnight at Sandringham, went to the hospital this morning, was obviously checked, and they concluded that it was minor injuries, injuries of no concern, and then he was released to recuperate back at Sandringham. Melody says he really is the Iron Duke. He is indeed. He's made of stern stuff, is our Philip. And, you know, he is the sort that would, if he fell off the horse, he'd get back on and just carry on doing it. He doesn't let things beat him. Live, Love and Laugh says, hello, just watching the Dancing Queen video. You have a wonderful voice. I am so sorry. I apologise for subjecting you to my recording. It was filmed rather quickly, or rather recorded quickly, through just a pair of headphones. No microphone, just headphones with the built-in microphone. So I do apologise if any of your ears are bleeding. If you've suffered any minor injuries to your ears, I do apologise. Countess Bavaria says, the after effects will be hitting him hard after the shock. I would agree. I'm sorry if I'm skipping a few. Yes, we didn't know anything about the baby in the car until the official press statement from the police. Phoenix says, my God, this must have been so scary. I had no idea there was a baby involved. But the baby was uninjured. That is really important to stress. Beverly says, most Land Rovers are built to survive a low-speed rollover, but 60 miles per hour is fast. It is indeed. That may be why the Duke was able to survive this with only minor injuries. His vehicle looked incredibly sturdy, and to be honest, I'm surprised the other two ladies got off as lightly as they did. I know any injury is an injury, any injury is serious, but hey, it could have been a whole lot worse. That road has had 5 fatalities in 6 years. This could have been another fatal situation. So to only get off with the injuries that they did sustain, that is getting off lightly. I'm sorry, but it really is. It could have been a whole lot worse. And yes, it is a very dangerous stretch of road. Teresa says, the tiara is beautiful. Which one is it? It is the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The one that the Queen's wearing in the Dancing Queen video today. Chiming in says, I doubt they would sue. They would probably be paid off. I mean, usually claims are not made like personally suing. If there's a road traffic accident, if a driver is at fault, usually a claim is put in through the insurance company. So obviously, you know, the Kia was probably a write-off too. So whoever's fault it was deemed to be, the other party would claim on the other person's insurance. So they would get all the costs on any injuries, would also perhaps be dealt with via the insurance. So I very much doubt they would personally sue. I'd imagine any claims would be made through the insurance company, because of course all drivers in the UK are required to have insurance for this kind of accident. Live, Love and Laugh says the accident scene was bad. He's very lucky to get out safe. The road looks busy, and from yesterday's report they said he was backing out of a driveway into the road. I don't think he was backing out, I think he was forward. I think that would have been really crazy to be backing out. And I haven't heard the news that he was backing out. I think he was pulling out forwards. I'm just skipping through a few, so I'm really sorry if I've missed out your comment. Wendy says the sun can blind you at your sight when driving. It can indeed. I can testify to that. Sorry if I'm skipping again. I'm lots of repeated comments. Floss and Rug Paint says sad news. Hope all involved have a speedy recovery. Prince Philip must be very shaken. I would imagine so. Terry Turner says, for the Range Rover to flip twice, it must have been quite an impact, and therefore the Kia must have been going too fast. That is kind of what I'm suspecting too, but again, we can't make any accusations. We have to wait for the investigation to run its course. Then when we know more details, we can comment on the ins and outs of it, on the finer details of it. Yes, Prince Philip did go to hospital for a checkup this morning. Just skipping through, I'm so sorry if I've missed your comment. Reg says, hey Elliot, thanks for the update. Always enjoy your reports. Unusual to catch you live in Victoria. Well, I'm glad you did. Beverly says, I've been an insurance adjuster for over 35 years. I am very interested to hear what you've got to say. So this situation sounds just like what I handle every day. I'm glad to hear that the injuries were not worse. Do you have comparative negligence? I've not heard of it, but that's not to say that we don't. Do explain what comparative negligence is, and I'll tell you if we have it. Is probably a little bit better. So yes, maybe for the new people watching, I could read the statement again. Do you want me to read the statement from the police again? If you've kind of not been here? If you've only just got here, rather. So I have lots of screens open. I'm literally just kind of dealing with screens right now. People saying, yes, please. Artist Victoria says, your brooch is gorgeous. I'd love to get one like that. It's the Queen's bow brooch. Her double bow brooch. Okay, well, if I can find the statement, which I'm looking for, I will read it again. Hang on. Let's go back up and see if I can find it. I may have lost the statement. No, I haven't. I know where it is. I do know where it is. It's here. Okay, so the official statement from the police says, investigations will continue today into a collision which happened at Sandringham yesterday, Thursday the 17th of January 2019 in the afternoon. Officers were called to the A149 shortly before 3 p.m. after two cars, a Land Rover and a Kia, were involved in a collision at the junction of the B1439. The driver of the Kia, a 28-year-old woman, suffered cuts to her knee, while the passenger, a 45-year-old woman, sustained a broken wrist. Both casualties were treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Kings Lynn and were discharged last night. Police can also confirm a 9-month-old baby boy was in the Kia at the time of the incident and was uninjured. The male driver of the Land Rover was uninjured. Both drivers were breath tested and provided negative readings. As is standard procedure with injury collisions, the incident will be investigated and any appropriate action taken. We are aware of the public interest in this case. However, as with any investigation, it would be inappropriate to speculate on the causes of the collision until an investigation is carried out. And I think that is the last paragraph is very important to remember. We shouldn't speculate until we kind of know all of the outcome of it. A comparative negligence is a percentage of fault is being determined. I don't think we do. I've not heard of it. I've definitely not heard of it. Yes, Philip does have a replacement car, but it's not a brand new one. We do believe it's one from the Royal Fleet, which the Royal Family already are in possession of. But it does have his plates on it. Beverly says, it means so the Duke may not be 100% liable. For instance, if the other driver was speeding, he would only pay a reduced percentage of her physical damages and injuries. I've not heard of that. It's usually the person that kind of pulls out is usually the one at fault, even if the second party is doing speeding. That's usually how it works out. Richard says, hi Elliot, seems strange that the road would get a lower speed limit so soon due to the royal involvement. I think it was already on the cards that they wanted to reduce it to 50. That's still going through, but they immediately reduced it to 60. So yes, it is strange that it's taken this level of publicity for it to get implemented, and I do hope they reduce it further down to the 50. Okay, so that is basically all of the updates that we have. So hopefully I've made corrections in this video from yesterday's video, because we didn't know everything yesterday. We were only going by eyewitness accounts and a little bit about what Buckingham Palace released. Of course, as I said earlier, Buckingham Palace have even revised their own statement saying no injuries of concern. So Philip did sustain injuries, but not injuries of concern. Again, we don't know quite what those injuries are, but as soon as I know any further details or any further updates, of course I will update you as best and as accurately as I possibly can. So if you have enjoyed my reporting of this, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, I bid you all good night. Mwah!